Recording in progress.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Basu Ghosh Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna. So we are very fortunate to have association of His Grace Basu Ghosh Prabhu. Just I would like to begin the event announcing few things, and then we will request His Grace Basu Ghosh Prabhu to kindly speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is we are celebrating the Tirobhava festival of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Guru Maharaj. From 18 to 24th July, we will be having this festival. And from 18 to 23, we will be hearing from different disciples, sannyasis, and God brothers of Guru Maharaj, speaking on the various verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, sharing their memories with Guru Maharaj. And in this event, we would like to first invite His Grace Basu Ghosh Prabhu, who is a very dear friend of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Guru Maharaj. I would just like to give a very brief introduction about Prabhuji. Prabhuji is the member of ISKCON India Governing Bureau, President of ISKCON Temple Baroda. He is very deeply attached to Vedic culture, and because of his love for the Vedic culture, though Prabhu is in the born in Western country, but he accepted the Indian culture more than any Indian. He learned Sanskrit, not only learned, but he is very conversant in Sanskrit. He is famous for his classes on Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, relevance of spirituality in modern world. Prabhu is eloquent speaker and can converse in English, Bengali, English, Sanskrit, Gujarati, Hindi. And today we are very fortunate to have his association. And Prabhu will be speaking from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, verse 24, chapter 24, verse 13. So we welcome Prabhu by loudly chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Begin?
Yes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatityuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Angala Bhashayam Pravachanam Karaniyam Anyatha Sanskrit Bhashayam Kartum Shaknomi Prayaha Samskrita Shravana Bhyasa Nasti Bharatiyanam Krite Api. So I'll have to speak in English. So the shloka for today, Skanda 3, Adhyaya 24, Shloka 13. Etavatyeva shushrusha karya pitari putra kaihi bhadamityanumanyeta gauravena guror vachaha padapataha etavati. To this extent, eva, exactly, shushrusha, service, karya, ought to be rendered, pitari, to the father, putra kaihi, by the sons, badhamiti, accepting, yes sir, anumanyeta, he should obey, gauravena, with due deference, guroho, of the guru, vachaha, commands. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sons ought to render service to their father exactly to this extent. One should obey the command of his father or spiritual master with due deference, saying, yes, sir. In other words, one should obey the command. Purport. Two words in this verse are very important. One word is pitari and another is guroho. The son or disciple should accept the words of his spiritual master and father without hesitation. Whatever the father and the spiritual master order should be taken without argument. Yes, there should be no instance in which the disciple or the son says, this is not correct, I cannot carry it out. When he says that, he is fallen. The father and the spiritual master are on the same platform because the spiritual master is the second father. The higher classes are called dvija, twice born. Whenever there is a question of birth, there must be a father. The first birth is made possible by the actual father, and the second birth is made possible by the spiritual master. Sometimes the father and the spiritual master may be the same man, and sometimes they are different men. In any case, the order of the father or the order of the spiritual master must be carried out without hesitation and with an immediate yes. There should be no argument. That is real service to the father and to the spiritual master. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has stated that the order of the spiritual master is the life and soul of the disciples. A man cannot separate his life from his body. A disciple cannot separate the order of the spiritual master from his life. If a disciple follows the instructions the instruction of the spiritual master in this way, he is sure to become perfect. This is confirmed in the Upanishads. The import of Vedic instruction is revealed automatically only to one who has implicit faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and in his spiritual master. One may be materially considered an illiterate man, but if he has no faith in the words of the spiritual master as well as in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the meaning of scriptural revelation is immediately manifested before him. Wow. I wonder if, this verse clearly says that the guru is a man, not a woman. And this type of dharma is going on, apasiddhanta. The guru is compared to the father, and the father can't be a woman, that's the mother. Pitari is father. In Sanskrit, it doesn't say matari, it says pitari. And gurus always were men. And if there are some exceptional cases, or if the mother is always considered a guru, mother is the first guru. We learn how to eat and how to defecate, and all the bodily functions are how to take a bath and put on clothing is all taught to us by our mother. But how to get moksha and how to be a Vaishnava is taught by men. Women also in the house, they may teach, but the mantras are given by the men. And the sacred thread, the Yagnopavitam. After reading this purport, there shouldn't be any question. Any question. But what can I say? I wanted to, hearing this purport, I want to read a purport from Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you don't mind, I did not prepare. I have to admit, but I'm going to get it up here in a moment, and I'm going to read to you. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 20, Adhyaya 20, verse 352. Prabhu kahe, anya avatara shastre dwari jani, kolite avatar taiche shastra vakye mani. So the translation by Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, in other ages, an incarnation is accepted according to the directions of the Shastras. In this age of Kali, an incarnation of God should be accepted in that way. So you may ask me that what's the relation of this with the verse that we just read from the Bhagavatam 3:24-13. So it's because it's about Guru, and this is about Bhakti Charu Maharaj, who was one of the great gurus in ISKCON. So here Prabhupada says in the purport, according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is the way an incarnation should be accepted. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya, Chitte Te Kariya Aikya. One should accept a thing as genuine by studying the words of saintly people. I just lost my own live stream that was going on. Excuse me for that. I don't know. It's come back here. Oh, okay, it came back. So I'm also broadcasting from my Facebook page. So one should accept a thing as genuine by studying the words of saintly people, the spiritual master, and the Shastra. The actual center is the Shastra, the revealed scripture. If a spiritual master does not speak according to the revealed scripture, he is not to be accepted. Similarly, if a saintly person does not speak according to the Shastra, he is not a saintly person. The Shastra is the center for all. I'm not going to read the rest of the purport because this is the essence of that purport. Gurus and sadhus are, in the Vedic tradition, teachers of Vedas. Can I read another purport, which I think is very important because it has to do with a place called Ujjain? You've heard of that place, right? And in the 10th canto, 45th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna rescues the son of his Krishna rescues his teacher's son. His teacher is Sandipani, and Avanti is today called Ujjain. And Krishna and Balaram resided there. So it's a very, very special place for the devotees of Lord Krishna. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj, setting up ISKCON in Ujjain, I think, this is my humble opinion, but it's divine inspiration that he got from Lord Krishna. And he established such a wonderful center there. And you are fulfilling his desires and vision by residing there. So in 33, 34, and 35, and 36, what Sandipani, the guru of Krishna, I mean, who can be the guru of Krishna? Nobody, because Krishna is the Adi Guru, right? They say the original guru is Lord Krishna. I mean, the Vedaischa Sarvera Hameva Vedyaha. Vedas came from Krishna, right? Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. Everything comes from Krishna. This is Bhagavad Gita. So when they, in order to teach the human society by their own example, what should be studied and how it should be studied, they went to the Gurukul of Sandipani. And it says here, text 33, that best of the Brahmanas, the spiritual master Sandipani, was satisfied by Krishna and Balaram. I want to read the Sanskrit. Tayor Dvija Varash Tushtash. So that by Tayoho, by those two, Krishna and Balaram, Dvija Varaha, that was the best of the Brahmanas, Sandipani, Tushtaha. He was satisfied with their behavior. Shuddha Bhavanuvritti Bihi. And they're submissive. They were humble. Another verse from Bhagavatam, right? Brahmachari Guru Kule Vasandanto Gurorhitam. The Guru teaches Vedic literature. So here it says, and the Brahmachari has to serve the Guru with all humility, which Krishna and Balaram displayed in Sandipani Ashram, and serve him submissively. Why? Provacha Vedan Akilan. So the Guru speaks all of the Vedas to the disciple. That system is still extant in India, especially in South India. You know, somebody sent me a picture today or yesterday. This is taken in Nellore. Prabhupada is walking with Tamal Krishna Maharaj and myself. And I mean, you know, I was a young brahmachari. Tamal Krishna Maharaj was the very good friend of Bhakti Charu Maharaj. They had a very intimate association, much more intimate than my association with Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And when Prabhupada arrived on the train platform, I had gone a day earlier. I was sent by Mahamsa Maharaj, Mahamsa Swami at the time, the head of we had organized the program. So he asked me to go to Nellore and check out the arrangements. And Prabhupada, seeing the welcome he got, because it's a long story, but he said that Vedic culture is more intact in South India. He said like that. But the same Vedic culture was in Jain 5,000 years ago, and it still is. But South India, you see Brahmins studying Vedas more than in North India. For whatever reason. There's many explanations, the influence of the Mohammedan invaders, the influence of the British or whatever. So Provacha Vedan Akilan Sango Panishado Guruhu. So Guruhu Shabda is used here. And he taught them the Vedas and the Upanishads. And then you go to the next verse and Vedangas. And next shloka, Sarahasyam Dhanur Vedam. So the confidential understanding, Prabhupada didn't translate this. This was translated after Prabhupada. Sarahasyam, so the secrets of Vedas. Dhanur Veda is the military science. Dharman Nyaya Patangs Tatha. And Nyaya and Dharma means Dharma Shastras are the law books for Vedic society, which the government of India doesn't follow today. Secular country that came into existence after 1,000 years of Mlechas and Yavanas ruling India. Tata Chandvikshikim Vidyam. So the science of philosophical debate. Rajnitim cha shadat chashadvidham. 6 aspects of political science were taught to Krishna and Balaram. So this is the duty of the guru. Sarva Naravara Shreshto Sarva Vidya Pravartako. So Krishna and Balaram learned everything immediately. They're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyway, the point being, this is what the guru is supposed to do, teach Shastras. Bhakti Charu Maharaj was an emblem in ISKCON of Vaishnav etiquette and Vaishnav behavior. And he was always absorbed in different, giving seminars on different Shastras. So we need to be inspired and learn from that. And many people are inspired and learning from that. Not that they aren't. So I have half an hour left. Half an hour is covered. So from this shloka, we can turn to remembering Maharaj, some memories. Correct? Okay. So, when Maharaj joined in Mayapur, I was in Hyderabad, so I didn't immediately come in contact with him. I remember seeing him in Calcutta in the early 1980s. Oh, well, of course, I guess I was in Vrindavan only for a few days after Prabhupada disappeared. We weren't there when he disappeared. And I wasn't there before he disappeared. After he disappeared, 4 of us in a car drove from Hyderabad to Vrindavan, 30-hour driving without stopping, nonstop. There were all 4 of us could drive the car. So we took turns, but one devotee, Indian devotee, was a driver. And so he did most of the driving. And, there were hundreds of bullock carts on the road. There were hardly any traffic in those days. And the roads were narrow and, not like today in India. So somehow or other, we were separated by time and space. And then I used to go to the Mayapur festival every year. So I must have seen him in the Mayapur festival, and slowly we became acquainted. ISKCON India was not so well organized in those days. There weren't regular meetings of the leaders of ISKCON India. Every center, there weren't a lot of centers, and all the centers functioned on their own. And in Gujarat, Jasamati Nandan Prabhu was a towering figure. And I was working with him. First, I was in Hyderabad during the Prabhupada days, as you can see in this picture behind me. That was 1976 in Hyderabad Public Garden, just after the opening of Hyderabad Temple. So, Prabhupada, it was a year after that, Prabhupada was gone. So I also moved to Ahmedabad in 79. And in 1986, Jasomati Nandan Prabhu purchased a car from Bhakti Charu Maharaj. As I recall, Bhakti Charu Maharaj was staying in Punjabi Bagh in Delhi in those days. I don't know the exact chronology of where Bhakti Charu Maharaj was during the 1980s and 90s. But I know that he came to Ujjain around 2003, 2004. First, they rented that school. I came to Ujjain at that time. And anyway, it was 1986 that Bhakti Charu Maharaj sold his Contessa car. I don't know how many people in India remember the Contessa car, because it's gone. It's history there. Hardly you'll find any of them moving on the roads today. Ambassador, you see a number of them. But Contessa, very few are left. And so I went to Delhi to pick up the car from Maharaj. But, it's hard for me to remember specific details from those days. And like I said, I didn't have a lot of interaction with Maharaj. My interaction with Maharaj started really when ISKCON Ujjain, because Ujjain is not that far from Baroda. It's easy to go from Baroda to Ujjain, relatively close, about 400 kilometers. So anyway, I visited Ujjain before the temple opening, and then at the temple opening, I was present. Of course, many, many devotees were present, so I was one of the insignificant, lesser devotees. And I remember, a big commotion at the opening when this Rani Mukherjee came there. Then there was, hundreds of people gathered. So it was a grand festival. It's hard for me to remember even the details of that festival. I remember meeting that Anand Shankar Vyas. His name is Anand Shankar Vyas, right? And then Maharaj introduced me to this Professor Shiv Sharma, who's no more. He was a retired college principal, as I recall. I made some friends there in Ujjain. And somehow or other, I kept coming. There were these World Veda conferences twice. And let's see, I remember taking prasad with Indradyumna Swami, who was visiting one time with Maharaj. And then I used to talk with Maharaj about ISKCON India affairs, because ISKCON India started to get organized. First, we had the ICC. Actually, before the ICC, I can't, what were we calling ourselves? It was the ICC. And then the RGB started. That's also gone. And now we have the IIAC. And Maharaj was all along involved in these meetings. Sometimes all along involved means because he was a world traveler, and he became more and more, as the years went on, a globetrotter, as the word is employed. He was sometimes in England, sometimes in Australia, sometimes in South Africa. Actually, I forgot, now I remember that in 1992, Maharaj asked me to go to Mauritius. At that time, he was a co-GBC for Mauritius and South Africa. So, yeah, I had a lot of contact. I did have contact in the early 90s with Maharaj. We must have been meeting at these, Indian temple presidents meetings and whatnot. or at Mayapur festivals. I was few times a representative who sat in the GBC meetings on behalf of ISKCON India. Might have been 5, 6, 7 times. I can't remember. I never kept a diary. Hari Shauri Prabhu is famous now in ISKCON because he kept these copious diary. Every day he made detailed entries when he was with Prabhupada. And, people generally, they don't keep these type of diaries. So I can't remember, but Maharaj asked me to go to Mauritius and for Janmashtami and speak in Hindi. I was speaking conversational Hindi since 1975. The other day, the checkout in a grocery store here was a woman from Karachi. And I started speaking with her Hindi, and the Urdu, so-called Urdu, is actually Hindi in Pakistan. She said, "You speak such good Urdu," but it's the same language. Anyway, the association over the years with Maharaj became closer, and especially because then, wait a minute, before the Mayapur change of management in 2016, Maharaj sent brahmacharis to Baroda. And so that made our relations even closer. And those brahmacharis have done very well. And they're, an intimate part of not only Baroda, but, Vamsidhari Prabhu was recently confirmed by the Bureau as a regional secretary assistant for Gujarat. So he's very active. And, it's a funny thing, because Bhakti Charu Maharaj understood much before most of ISKCON India. And now it's an open secret that youth preaching that started in Pune was a really, really important preaching field. And because of that, ISKCON India has thousands of brahmacharis who are doing very good preaching work. I've said it before that I feel that the future of ISKCON, not only in India, but worldwide, are the Indian brahmacharis. Let's see what happens. Man proposes, God disposes. But first of all, Prabhupada was propagating Indian culture. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj embodied that. That's why Prabhupada gave him bang, first, second initiation and sannyas, just like that. He was already, and most of the people in India, you get Vedic culture. Prabhupada had told us that in Bombay, that in India, more or less, everyone is somewhat Krishna conscious. And even Muslims used to watch Mahabharata and Ramayana when it came on the TV in, 30 odd years ago. The whole India would stop and everybody was watching. Didn't matter Hindu or Muslim. So spreading Vedic culture all over the world, inspiring people. The activities of Bhakti Charu Maharaj are glorious. And for whatever reason, Krishna has taken him. We all have to go. And just now before this lecture, I had another lecture just immediately before this, where we did an overview of the first canto, and today was the last day, and the last chapter of the first canto of Bhagavatam is the description of Parikshit learning that he's been cursed to die in 7 days and giving up all material attachments and sitting down on the bank of the Ganga to fast unto death. And all sages and rishis from all over the universe, devatas, they all assemble there. And in the middle of that, Shukadev is the one who suddenly appears and starts narrating Krishna Katha. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj's life was really like that. He was absorbed in Krishna Katha. And compared to that, we are mosquitoes or, little flies. I don't know. That attachment to Krishna Katha, constantly lecturing, leading kirtans, and inspiring other people in Krishna consciousness through seminars, Harinam Chintamani, and I don't remember all the seminars Maharaj was giving. I call myself sometimes a Kupamandukaha, right? Kueka Manduk, Kueka Mendak in Hindi, frog in the well. We have our little 6 acres of well in Baroda. And I didn't get out much for whatever reason. And my habit was fundraising, because when I was in Hyderabad, as you see in this picture behind me, that's what I did. I was a fundraiser. So someone who could tirelessly give lectures, following in the footsteps of Prabhupada was, Prabhupada was tirelessly giving lectures. We have this copious record of lectures of Prabhupada. And we have a similar record now of maybe probably even more of Bhakti Charu Maharaj. One thing that I don't know if I have told this before, my mother left her body in Baroda, and it's 13 years ago. And, excuse me. My mother came on the 30th of November, 2007, for the birth of her second great-grandchild, first great-grandson. Throat problem. And, she was used to being entertained by TV here in the United States. People watch TV in India now. That bad. Why, excuse me. So this bad habit of watching TV. So we had a little small computer at the time. Laptops had already entered. I can't remember. I remember laptops were in 1996. I remember in Bombay seeing laptop computers. So I had a small laptop computer, and my mother watched the entire, all the videos of the Abhay Charan serial that Maharaj had produced. And she said, I never knew about Prabhupada's life. She had met Prabhupada briefly in 1975 in Chicago. But because of Abhay Charan serial, she was able to, get some idea, pretty extensive, detailed idea. I think I've also watched all of them. And you see a lot of things about Prabhupada's life that, you get inspired by and you come to know. So yeah, these were her last days. This was the last month and a half of her life. She watched the life story of Prabhupada. So that was a great blessing. And in that way, Maharaj has blessed so many people, because how many thousands of people have seen Abhay Charan, the reenactment of Prabhupada's life that Maharaj produced. So he'll definitely be remembered for that, for ISKCON Ujjain, for all of his preaching activities. What can I say? I mean, we were together from 2016 on the Mayapur Executive Board. So Mayapur Executive Board is an oversight body that does not engage in micromanagement, but considers all aspects except for the TOVP of Mayapur. Now, the TOVP has been merged into ISKCON Mayapur when Ambarish's right-hand man, Brajavilas Prabhu, Brajvilas, was made a co-director of ISKCON Mayapur. So it's one homogeneous project now, which is required. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj attended mostly all of the MEB meetings. So we had a more intimate association because of that. I was able to, request him to serve pizza to all the devotees in the MEB, which he was expert at. We took a lot of prasad at Ujjain when we had some bureau meetings in Ujjain. And I remember when the temple first opened, the restaurant was functioning and it was quite popular. I don't know now. There's some, legal entanglement, unfortunately, that doesn't allow that restaurant to function. Of course, in the pandemic now, even Juhu's restaurant is closed for more than a year. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Here in the USA, I mean, things are more normal because most of the people, at least 50, 60% of the people are vaccinated now. Of course, there's a lot of controversy about that, but we won't get into that. But I mean, the way Maharaj set things up in Ujjain, there's how many departments in the temple? Like 25 different departments, right? More?
Yes, Prabhuji, around 45, around 30,
45 departments. So who could understand that ISKCON Ujjain would in and of itself be a Hare Krishna explosion? What to speak of the worldwide Hare Krishna explosion, but even Ujjain is booming in so many ways. So it's all the glories of Maharaj. I don't know what to tell you all specifically. There must be more. There must be more inside. The Vyas Puja festivals that unfortunately, I think 2019 was the last festival, right? I attended that. 18, 17, 16 was in Ujjain or in Surat? When was Surat Vyas Puja? 15?
Yes, 15, I think.
15. So 16, 17, 18, 19, from Ujjain, from Surat onwards, I attended. And they were grand festivals and very nice festivals. Maharaj, out of humility, he wanted to stop the festivals, but I told him, please don't stop these festivals. Publicly, I said, please don't stop these festivals. You're inspiring so many people in Krishna Bhakti. Why should you stop the Vyas Puja festivals? Really nice. We all enjoyed those festivals. And I didn't prepare, a chronological, and I haven't written my memories down. So it's only whatever comes in my mind. Surat Vyas Puja was also a very nice program. I mean, it was well attended. It was well attended. Surat preaching, the kind of devotees that have come out of the preaching there of Bhakti Charu Maharaj and Bhakti Prem Maharaj, it's big group, big group. They're actually starting temple construction there, I think, in that area, Basu area. I was in Surat for 3 years, but that was 40 years ago. That's a long time ago now. And I was alone. Hardly, we were a small group. The first time it was just two of us in 80, 81 and 83, 84. Well, actually 80, 81, then by the time I left, we were 4 or 5. And then 83, 84 also was a few people, maybe a few more. Massive city, Surat's population is heading up to close to 1 crore. Not yet 1 crore, but not far behind. 70 lakhs, I think. There's a big preaching field, big preaching field. Maharaj was a regular. Boy, I don't know what to say. We have a few minutes left. Is there an interactive question and answer period?
Yes, Prabhuji, devotees can raise their hand if they have any question.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure there are more memories, but wow. I can't remember, specifically what I should say. I mean, there were.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Sorry, there is one question. What is the most important quality of a Vaishnava that makes the relationship so strong? Maybe he's talking about your relationship with His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Guru Maharaj. What is the most important quality that makes the Vaishnava relationship so strong?
I think in Nectar of Instruction, right, Upadeshamrit of Rupa Goswami, this dadati pratigrinati, guhyam akyati prichati, bhungte bhojayate chaiva, shadvidham priti lakshanam. And this priti lakshana comes from Sahitya, but in Bhakti it is also, obviously Rupa Goswami endorsed it. So giving gifts and accepting gifts. I'm not a great giver because all along I've been a beggar, right from the beginning. And of course, most of us are, brahmachari is supposed to beg. Bhiksham bhavati dehi. But as a fundraiser from those days, for many years, when you are always begging, it becomes hard to give. But Bhakti Charu Maharaj was very charitable. Although his specific, I probably am ignorant of all the charitable work he did. But of course, building the temple and building up the, congregation in Ujjain and in different places, itself is a type of charity. But on a personal level, Dadati Pratiguna Guhyam Akyati Prichati was there. We used to discuss, and he used to discuss with many people philosophical and practical matters relating to ISKCON is considered spiritual because it's a spiritual movement. And Bhungte Bhojayate Chaiva, well, Maharaj was superlative in feeding devotees. Superlative. I mean, the type of prasad that he used to serve to the guests, nobody that close, because he was open to everyone and he was open to many, many people. So, and he had that personality. He got along with everybody. Got along with everyone. So thinking of his Vaishnav qualities, I remember this. Priti Lakshanam comes to mind of Rupa Goswami. This is how to, be a Vaishnava. Any other? Nothing coming in the
Yes.
chat box, chat window.
Uh,
I don't see.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, they are coming to me personally.
Acha.
So there is another question. Could you please share some memories of His Holiness Bhakti Swami Guru Maharaj when he used to take prasadam with you, or he used to invite you for prasadam?
Yeah, many times, but what can I say? He always had the best prasad. That's what I remember. And he was always gracious and what are the words? Welcoming. You always felt happy and blessed, to take prasad with Maharaj. Whoever took prasad with Maharaj, Everybody didn't have the opportunity. Obviously, when you have many hundreds of devotees, then there is some control in place, and only a few could take prasad with Maharaj. I took prasad with Prabhupada, at least I remember 2 occasions, because Prabhupada used to take privately. He didn't he was the acharya and he had his fixed schedule, but big people who invited him, he went to their homes. So when I came to Hyderabad, we ate with Badruka in his house. And I remember I was a new devotee. And all the devotees, when Prabhupada got up from his seat, all the devotees charged to get his remnants. And I didn't, because, I didn't know. I was brand new. I was wondering, why are they charging and rushing at his plate? And in Hyderabad, there was an invitation with a very rich man in his house. And Prabhupada was very elderly and his health wasn't good, but that man was a Gujarati guy who donated that farm in Ahmedabad, Bhogilal Patel. And there was Shrikand, which is particularly famous in Gujarat. And Prabhupada kept more. He kept eating the Shrikand. So, Bhakti Charu Maharaj taking prasad with him on many occasions, it's hard to remember exactly. But I know he liked pizza particularly, no doubt. But Bengali items were also regularly served. And so many, you couldn't eat them all. So anyway, I can wind up now by wishing this function all success. And I'm sorry I'm not able to participate in person this year. Maybe next year. These type of functions I would normally participate.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you very much. There is one last question if you'd like to answer.
Sure.
Yeah, that question is, how do you see His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj as in GBC meetings standing for ISKCON and Srila Prabhupada?
Well, I'm not a member of the international GBC, so I can only tell you about his involvement with the ISKCON India Bureau, which I'm a member of. And, he participated in a number of bureau meetings. So, there's a long record of that. To remember each and every meeting is difficult. But yeah, he was one of the leaders whose council, the more senior leaders are given more respect and regard. So he was one of them, for sure. He's missed. We're missing him. But life is like that, Our parents are gone, etc., etc. Maharaj is gone, Prabhupada is gone. Prabhupada's godbrothers, I had relations particularly with 2 of his godbrothers who are gone. So we miss all of them, and we hope that we'll have their association again on the level of Atma. Because it's a spiritual movement. The body is made of the Panch Mahabhutas, so that, Agnenaya Supatharaya Asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidvan. Vedas are recognized. Mahabhuta body. Prabhupada said in the last days, I want to give up these animal activities. Maitunamcha are all animal activities. And Krishna Seva is a divine activity. So we're sadhakas in this life. And hopefully, if Krishna Mukunda, if he wishes, he can grant moksha, mokshe shami masucha. If we think of him, worship him.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhuji. These were a few questions by the devotee, and we very thankful to you that you accepted our kind invitation and began this session, this celebration of 7 days from 18 to 24. So we'll seek your association as physical as soon as the things are resolved. And thank you for sharing your memories and from Srimad Bhagavatam. And you especially mentioned about this Abhay Charan as one of the contribution by him for the general people. Many people can get to know about Srila Prabhupada through this video epic series. So thank you very much for mentioning that. So I would just, we can express our heartfelt gratitude to Prabhuji by loudly chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. So I would just like to announce schedule for is the first day, and we heard from His Grace Basu Prabhu, and from 5 to 7 we are having a series of talk by different leaders in ISKCON. We'll be hearing from His Grace Swami Krishna Maharaj, His Grace Shrutaki Prabhu, His Grace Govardhan Prabhu, His Grace Hade Chaitanya Prabhu, His Grace Sureshwar Prabhu, His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu. So we seek association of all of you for this wonderful festival starting from today. And so we'll be joining. As Holiness Bhakti Church Swami Guru Maharaj ki Jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.